All right, so we are here with Matt. Matt's been on the just finishing up his program, which is pretty exciting. Just wrapping that process up. Matt, why don't you first start out with just telling everyone kind of where you're at as far as if you feel comfortable sharing your number that you started at, or if you just want to kind of talk about the amount of weight that you've lost with being on the program for the last 16 weeks here.
Yeah, absolutely. I started out when I first got on this program. I weighed roughly 260 pounds, maybe even a little more. I've ended up dropping 65, 70-ish pounds. I'm down to about 194 right now.
Awesome.
Lost a ton of weight. Feel a heck of a lot better about every aspect of life.
Yeah, yeah, and that's super cool because, like I said, you've been doing this for 16 weeks now, right? Yeah, right at that 16-week mark. So that's always very fun and very exciting to see that happen. What would tell me a little bit about kind of how the weight, like when you first started the program, like was there anything in particular that was really challenging? Like had you tried different programs in the past, or what was kind of your initial reason for wanting to look for help from the standpoint of looking to solve that problem?
Definitely. The biggest thing for me was that I had a really tough time keeping myself engaged in a program, and I'm not sure if that's what I didn't know what to do, if I didn't have a specific plan to follow. I tried different things like eating less, trying to eat cleaner, but I always found myself kind of falling off that program after a week or two, just kind of like, well, I'm good.
Yeah,
Um, and then once I found this program and I started, working on it, and with you giving me a plan and kind of showing me the way in a sense, I was able to stick to that plan with that list of groceries I need to buy, how much of each thing I need to eat, the supplements to take, and that made it so much more simple for me. I was able to follow that program, and then after a few weeks, you get in that mindset where you're just like, all right, keep going, gotta keep going, keep going. And then it didn't really become work after that. It was just kind of like, oh yeah, I'm just doing this. This is just kind of how I'm rolling right now. And then the weight started melting off. So
yeah,
it's
yeah, and
made
that's
it
that.
easier.
Oh, what was that?
And it made it easier to keep going once you keep seeing those drastic changes.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's that idea of people saying that they need to keep themselves motivated as they go through that process. Obviously, if you're seeing really significant changes, and like you said, you're seeing the weight come off really rapidly, it's very easy to want to be consistent with it because you're obviously the effort that you're putting into it is yielding really good results with it. So
Hmm.
which is that's like you said, that's a fun part of going through this. So
Yep.
when you were going through the kind of the initial process, and I know when you started, and I don't remember, did we just do, because you didn't actually come into the office, we did everything over video, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
So when you were going through the kind of that consultation, what was the biggest concern that you had about kind of getting that process started?
I think the hardest thing for me was I knew I wanted to make a change, but I think it's that initial commitment that, hey, I'm really gonna have to cut out all the stuff I've been doing. The energy drinks, the pizzas, the pastas, the fried foods. It's really a big change, and change is never an easy thing. It's necessary, but it's not an easy thing. So for me, I think it was one of those things that I just had to fully dive into. Yeah, I was concerned about it, sure, but at the end of the day, the investment was, is one of those things you have to make about yourself because you don't want to be, you know, constantly thinking about it and not putting any action behind it. And I was
Yeah.
tired of doing that. So I think that was the biggest thing was just getting in that mindset that, look, it's, 3, 4, whatever, how long it takes, months of your life to get yourself into good shape. And then you have that habit, those habits, hopefully for a long time, if not, for the rest of your time. So it's a small price to pay.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a very important distinction that I always really want people to be um, aware of, right? Because basically what happens is you kind of get to that point of like, I'm ready to make a decision, and I'm either going to make the decision of going back to where I was and staying in the same place that I was and that I have been for the last year or 6 months or 2 years or 10 years or whatever, or I'm going to make the decision to finally get myself out of this place.
Yep.
Yeah. And it is that internal decision to say, how much longer am I willing to put up with this stuff anymore?
Sure.
So,
Yep.
so when you were going through the program and as you were going through that process, did you have any big, like aha moments or big, like, oh, this is not like amazing, but like, this is a game changer type thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think even after the first week, I think the first week I lost, 10 pounds. I mean, after that, you see that weight melt like that. And I understand a lot of that is water weight anyway, but still, because just having that initial loss, whether it's water weight or actual body fat, that's going to motivate you. And that sure as heck motivated me because it made me want to stay on that program. And it's like, hey, you know what? I can do this.
Yeah.
And then the more I stayed on it, and then the more, I don't know, I lost what? Let's see, the first session was about 40 days was the first cycle. I think I lost like 35 pounds almost.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just crazy. So, I mean, just seeing that weight every single day, down a pound, down half a pound, down another pound, that just keeps motivating you to keep going. That was my big aha. It made it a lot easier for me once I saw that consistent progress.
Yeah. And talk a little bit about, because when we go through this process, obviously, you mentioned the idea of cycles. So we go through kind of a losing cycle, and then we go through a maintenance cycle, and, we kind of repeat that process. But did you have any realizations about that maintenance part of it, of being able to give you a plan that allows you to actually sustain it, and it's something that you can implement on, it's I don't want to say it. Well, why don't you just kind of, talk about that part of it a little bit?
The maintenance part?
Yeah, kind of what you learned with that and.
Yeah, certainly. So the maintenance part was interesting because you're used to, let's say after that first 40-day cycle, you're used to not eating much food. So then you go back and you're trying to eat, in some cases, double, triple the amount of food, depending on how much you were eating.
Yeah.
That's a tough adjustment, right? Because I remember that first day I had like 6 ounces of chicken, and I was just like, oh my God, how do I do this? And so it took a couple days to kind of get your body back into that mode that, okay, I can actually eat again. I'm going to be able to digest this, and I can work out again. It was tough those first couple days, but I found the second time through the maintenance program, it was a lot easier for me to adjust.
Yeah.
And I kind of knew what I was going to feel, kind of what kind of foods I was going to respond well to. And then it was really easy for me to, stick with that game plan. I think that's what helped a lot is with that genetic testing, having those set kind of numbers and kind of what your macronutrients should be, kind of based on what kind of exercise you're doing, how much you should be eating. That was really helpful to me.
Yeah.
But a lazy day on a Sunday where I just sat in the couch all day, I might eat a little bit less. But if I was, hitting it pretty good at the gym, I could allow myself even a little bit more. I stayed pretty consistent with mine. I usually kind of hung around the same calorie bracket, macro brackets. But still, it is good to have that knowledge just in case you do want to, try to increase muscle mass at some point or try to even burn a little bit more weight at some point. So
Yeah.
Good to have.
Yeah, and that's a I see you getting kind of blinded there by this by the sun. So one of the things when you're looking at the kind of just with the different things that you've learned so far, as you've gone through this process, how, um, from the standpoint of sustainability, because that's a lot of people's concern is like, am I going to be able to sustain this lifestyle? So when you think about, what you're eating with the maintenance phase, that lifelong part of eating, does that seem very sustainable to you? Does that seem like that's going to be an easy process to be able to maintain that type of eating and that process?
I think it is. It's not like I'm having to, totally restrict my diet to, you know, the most lean green foods on the planet. Yes, I'm still trying to eat that way. I'm still trying to, you know, X percentage of the time trying to eat that super clean like that still. But that doesn't mean I can't go out and, once in a while and have something I want to have. I think the biggest thing for me is if I'm still able to stay consistent with that meal plan and still eat clean most of the time and hit the gym and stuff, I'm not as worried about going out and having that slice of pizza once in a while because I know that mentally I'll be able to come right back to the eating clean just because that's kind of what my mindset is now after this.
Yeah, yeah. And how do you let's look at that just a little bit too. How would you say that your mindset has shifted or your thought about eating healthy has shifted from where you were at before you started to where you're at now?
I think before I started, it was like, oh, this food sucks. It's there's no flavor. There's no, it's boring. It's not satisfying. Now it's kind of like, well, there's a lot of ways you can make it that way. There's a lot of different methods for cooking that I probably just didn't take the time to put into it earlier in my life. And now
Sure.
looking back at it, it's like, oh, you get different spices you can use, some different type of sauces. You can really spruce that up, and not all that food has to be tasteless. You can still make it taste good. There's a
Yeah.
lot of ways to go about that.
Yep. Yeah, and that's a big realization that a lot of people they start to come to as they go through this process, right? They realize that when you're eating healthy and when you're doing things to maintain your weight, it's things can still taste very, very good, right? You don't have to be stuck to eating kind of what you're saying, like chicken and broccoli your whole life, right? Because that's
Right.
not fun and that's boring, and so
Right.
you can still enjoy and be active and be social and everything, and
Yep.
it's like you said, it's learning how to be able to do that. So what do you feel has um, when you started and looking back and thinking about like, all right, well, these were some of the main reasons why I wanted to do this process, and now my life is better in these types of different ways. In what ways would you say that your life has improved, or your energy, or your health, or what things have you noticed the biggest improvement with where you're at now?
Yeah, definitely. Number one, definitely the energy levels. I used to be always yawning at work, drinking energy drinks or whatnot constantly just to stay awake. I'd go home and I'd want to take a nap, and I'd just kind of lay around. Now it's like I'm not having those bouts of yawning. I mean, maybe if I didn't get any sleep last night, but that doesn't really happen much.
Sure.
It's not energy related. I feel way more pep in my step. I'm able to get off work, go to the gym, or go hang out with some buddies, and I'm not sweating it. I don't feel tired. But then at night I sleep like a baby. I'm not having to take any sleeping pill or anything because I took a nap at 5 o'clock. It's
Yeah.
it's it's a huge difference. The other thing is just overall confidence. I think you lose that weight and you actually want to go be a little bit more social. You want to get out there and hang out with buddies or be active. And I used to do everything I could to avoid going out with people just because like, I'd rather just sit at home and watch TV. And now it's like I'm always looking for something to do on the weekends because I just feel better about myself. I think
Yeah.
it's not depressed, so it's
Yeah.
it's a huge difference.
Yeah, and that is a huge difference, right? Like you said, confidence goes up, so that self assurance goes up, and like you said, you want to be more active, be more social. You don't feel like you have to hide yourself or anything, which is super super cool. So
Right.
when you're looking at the program, would you recommend this program to other people?
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. I mean, every I tell people about it. I have just
Yeah,
because a lot of people ask me like, "What did you do? Like, how'd you lose the weight? You look great." I'm like, "Well, I got a weight loss uh, coach, and he gave me a program, and he really set me up for success. And I followed him, and we got these group meetings and stuff, and you know, he helped change my life in that way. So I'd absolutely recommend it. I mean, I tell people all the time how much it helps.
yeah, awesome, awesome. And one kind of last question, because I know that a lot of people always have the concern, but when you're looking at the kind of the investment for the program and the value that you got out of it, would you say that the value was worth the investment? Would you say that the value was worth more than what the investment was? Where would you kind of put that at?
I would say it's worth more the investment because I think that if you're going to invest in something, invest in yourself, especially if it's a health related problem, everything that comes with that, right? Whether it's medical with, diabetes, high blood pressure, whatever, to just overall confidence, more performance at work, better performance in life, I would say in the gym, it's all worth it. Yeah, every part of it's been worth it. So I'd say it's definitely the returns on the investment have been greater than even I thought they would be. So it's
Yeah.
absolutely worth it.
Excellent, excellent. Well, that's all that I've got, unless there's anything else that you want to add, but those are kind of the questions that I have for you. So, I really appreciate, the kind words and, like I said, it's been fun to watch and see you go through this process and, obviously with you being a guy, guys tend to lose a little more weight, a little rapid, a little more rapidly than women do. But still, there's lots of guys where we've seen, similar progress as you, and it's very fun to see that, and like you said, see that huge impact of what that's actually doing to your life, because it's not just about the number on the scale; it's all about all those other aspects of your life of how that's improving that. So,
Mm-hmm. Certainly, certainly is.
excellent. Well, thank you very much again, Matt. I appreciate the nice words, and we'll talk to you
For
soon.
sure. All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah.